Super Rugby Power Rankings for round number 7. Aussie teams, Kiwi teams. I can't wait for the time when we get some Trans-Tasman matches and we can actually kind of mesh these together. Because 6 teams on a Power Rankings is it's pretty shallow. There's not a lot of depth to talk about and teams changing places. But we'll go through them and you guys can let me know how you think they stack. Over in Australia, it is the Drua who I've got at the bottom of the log. That's the same as they were last week. They lost to the Waratahs. They lost pretty handily. It was a home game, albeit we've got to keep in mind the Drua don't have any kind of true home games in that they won't get to play much in Fiji this year. But there you go. It's another loss, unfortunately, for them. Their record is now 1-6. So, yeah. It's a losing record for them, but at least they got a win, which is more than we can say for the Highlanders. Maybe doesn't quite do them credit in that they were away to the Crusaders and only lost by a very small margin, so they could have won that game. So maybe that speaks well to a competitive New Zealand 6 teams that seemingly on their day someone can upset someone else, but they're still winless, the Highlanders, so there's not much I can do for them. The Rebels, they were on the bye, so there's nothing doing with them. They'll be back in action this week. Remember, there's 2 more Aussie teams on the bye this week as well. Moana Pasifika, I've still got here as well. They lost twice in a week to the Blues, but in terms of power rankings calculations, we're just using the most recent result because the Tuesday game last week was before I did the power rankings for last week, so I included that result there. So, yeah, Moana Pasifika are still here. They lost to the Blues. They're away from home. They got a bit of a hiding. They really should have capitalised on that red card period, but they couldn't get it done, so it's still 5th for Moana Pasifika. I still think the Highlanders will beat them, actually, when they play, but I didn't think Moana Pacific were going to beat the Hurricanes. So you never know. I look forward to seeing them get another win at some point soon. The Force were likewise on the bye over in Australia, so there's not a heck of a lot doing with them. I am gutted to see Fergus Lee Warner is heading abroad because I think he's a bit of a lost talent in Australia, but there you go. That is what it is. Some guys just never get to make the step up to international level. End of the season for him. Hurricanes I've got next. So again, no changes. All pretty static. This is what I'm talking about. I want them to mesh and move, but the Hurricanes are there. Also in their game against the Chiefs at home, they could have won it, but they didn't. So what am I supposed to do? These 3 teams lost. The top 3 teams won. Things don't move around that much if things just go according to plan, but there you go. In Australia, the Tars are 3rd. They beat the Drua as expected, but maybe by a little bit more than expected. They are certainly promising. We need to see them knock off the likes of a Brumbies or a Reds before we can give them a bit more kind of emphasis, but for the moment, they are still there in 3rd. The Chiefs. It's a question that's been troubling me a little bit this season and potentially some of you. Where are the Chiefs actually at? Are we overrating them after that win down in Christchurch? Because not many teams can do that. And they lost at home and they only just struggled to beat the Canes. Or is this the whole conference competitive? I don't know. It's troubling. But the Chiefs, they got a 4-2 record. They're the only team in New Zealand with that record. The Brumbies are the only team I've got down this week, I think, because they lost. They lost to the Reds, albeit away from home. So I've got the Reds as your number 1 Aussie team. They got the same record as the Brumbies with 6-1, but their loss is longer ago than the Brumbies one. So credit to the Reds for getting the first win over the Brumbies this season. New Zealand, I'm still troubled by the way this comes out, but it's Crusaders 2, Blues 1. Now, if I was betting on these teams tomorrow, even at Eden Park, I still think I would be betting on the Crusaders to win because the Blues haven't beaten the Crusaders in donkey's years. But both sides have got a 4-1 record. The Blues gave Moana Pasifika, a team with 1 win, a hiding at home. And the Crusaders just scraped by the Highlanders. So it's one of those ones where I'm not sure the data does things justice, because I think the Highlanders are better than their spot indicates, but it's hard to prove that when they haven't won a bloody game. So there you go. Those are the power rankings for this week. I'm underrating the Crusaders, but it's not me, it's the numbers. I promise you, I would still be backing the Crusaders as the favourites for the competition. I'm sure the bookies are the same. I do feel like most of these teams could potentially knock each other over at some point. I'm still not 100% about Moana Pasifika, because the Blues did a double over them relatively easily. But yeah, I'm still convinced we've got more to see from the Drua, the Rebels, and the Force. And I remain a little bit unconvinced as to whether the Tars can step up to this level, and then how these teams especially are going to go over here is also going to be an interesting question, but we're not too far away from the Super Round, so we will see how things go. You guys let me know your thoughts. How would you rank the teams if you were ranking them? How do you rank the Aussie teams against the Kiwis at this point? Do you think there's going to be much parity when they finally meet, or do you think it'll be like recent years with the New Zealand teams dominating most of the games? You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.